At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Beer, who has been deeply in love with his best friend Nikki for years. He has always wanted to confess and propose to her, but every time he tries, fear stops him. Now he finally decides he can't hide his feelings any longer. To prepare himself, Beer practices his proposal with his friends until he gains enough confidence. They encourage him, saying this is the perfect time to confess before he loses his courage again. Excited, Beer heads home, imagining everything going perfectly, but the moment he arrives, his happiness turns into heartbreak. He discovers that his beloved pet cat has died because of his own carelessness. He had accidentally left his medicine bottle open, and the cat ate the pills. The guilt completely shatters him. Beer locks himself inside his house for several days. During this time, he barely speaks to anyone. While drowning in grief, he learns that Nikki is about to leave the country to continue her studies. Once she leaves, he may never get another chance to confess. This news shakes Beer. Soon, his friend Ian gives him an invitation to Nikki's farewell party, and Beer realizes this is his last opportunity. He carefully dresses up and practices his proposal one final time. Before going to the party, he stops at a jewelry store to buy Nikki a special gift. After getting help from a salesgirl, he chooses a beautiful pendant. Even then, Beer is still nervous. As a joke, he asks if the store has anything that could improve his luck. The salesgirl laughs before showing him several lucky charms. None interest him until he notices a strange stick claiming it can grant one wish. Beer jokingly asks if it really works. This time, the salesgirl becomes serious. She warns him that everyone who has ever used the stick had their life changed forever, and nothing ever returned to normal. Although the warning makes him uneasy, Beer doesn't believe in magic. Still, because it involves Nikki, he buys the mysterious stick. After that, Beer arrives at Nikki's farewell party. Everyone enjoys themselves, and Beer spends time with Nikki. However, despite carrying the pendant all evening, he still can't confess. Eventually, the party ends. Beer secretly signals Ian to take everyone else away so he and Nikki can be alone. Ian understands immediately, and all of their friends quietly leave. Beer offers to drive Nikki home. During the drive, he keeps trying to confess, but when the moment comes, his mind goes completely blank. Before he realizes it, they've already reached Nikki's house. Once again, Beer has failed. Nikki gets out of the car and starts walking away. At the last second, Beer calls out to her. She turns around and asks what happened. But even now, Beer can't say a word. Nikki notices his expression and softly asks, "Do you love me?" Hearing those words completely shocks Beer. This is the opportunity he has always wanted, yet he becomes so overwhelmed that he can't answer. After waiting for a moment, Nikki quietly turns around and walks away. Only after she leaves does Beer realize he has wasted the perfect chance. Filled with regret, he suddenly remembers the mysterious stick. In desperation, he snaps it in half and wishes for Nikki to love him with all her heart. The moment he makes the wish, an eerie silence spreads through the surroundings. Beer has no idea anything has happened. Thinking nothing of it, he starts his car. But before leaving, he notices Nikki standing at the gate, staring at him. A few seconds later, Nikki suddenly runs back and asks, "Can I come to your house with you?" Beer is confused and asks why. Looking frightened, Nikki says she doesn't want to stay alone tonight and desperately wants to be with him. Beer doesn't understand the sudden change but happily agrees. The moment Nikki gets into the car, she immediately falls asleep. After reaching home, Beer gently wakes her up. Nikki walks straight into his room and casually sits on his bed as if she belongs there. Watching all this in disbelief, Beer asks why she suddenly came with him. Nikki suddenly breaks down in tears and tells him both of her parents are seriously ill. She claims her mother is dying from cancer and says she doesn't want to face everything alone. Seeing her cry, Beer believes every word. He quietly sits beside her, and Nikki gently rests her head on his shoulder. Although Beer is happy, her sudden change in behavior makes him feel uneasy. However, moments later, something even stranger happens. It's as if Nikki suddenly breaks free from a spell. Looking completely confused, she asks, "What are you doing here? And how did I end up here?" She immediately pushes Beer away. Beer is just as confused and reminds her that she insisted on coming to his house. While trying to understand everything, Nikki's expression suddenly changes again. She starts smiling and becomes affectionate once more, acting as though nothing happened. That entire night, Beer can't sleep. After watching Nikki switch between two completely different personalities, he realizes this must be the effect of the magical stick. If that's true, then Nikki doesn't actually love him. Everything she's doing is nothing more than magic. The next morning, Beer searches everywhere on the internet for information about the mysterious stick, but he can't find a single clue. This only confuses him even more. If the stick isn't real, maybe Nikki actually does love him. His mind becomes trapped between guilt and hope. Still lost in thought, Beer walks into the kitchen. The moment he enters, he freezes in horror. He discovers Nikki has performed some kind of strange ritual beside his dead cat. A mysterious symbol is drawn on the floor, and the cat's body has been arranged as if it's part of a dark ceremony. The terrifying sight sends chills down his spine. Afterward, they leave together for work. Later, Beer excitedly tells Ian that Nikki spent the entire night at his house. Then he casually asks why Ian never mentioned Nikki's parents were seriously ill. Ian is completely shocked. He immediately tells Beer that Nikki's parents are perfectly healthy. Confused, Beer says Nikki herself told him. Hearing this, Ian becomes even more puzzled. Then he reveals another truth that leaves Beer speechless. He tells Beer that Nikki has always seen him as nothing more than a brother, and that he never had the courage to tell him. This hits Beer like a truck. At that moment, he finally realizes everything is happening because of the magical stick. A deep sense of guilt begins consuming him. The girl who never truly loved him has been forced by magic to stay beside him. Beer decides he needs to distance himself from Nikki, but doing so is much harder than he expected. Nikki constantly stays close to him, showering him with affection and refusing to leave his side. As the days pass, they spend almost every moment together. They eat together, laugh together, travel together, and enjoy life like a couple. For Beer, it's the life he had always dreamed about. Despite the guilt inside him, he can't help feeling happy. One day, Beer takes Nikki out for dinner. During the meal, he carefully asks if her parents are really sick. The moment she hears the question, Nikki quietly replies, no. But then she repeats the same word again, and again, and again. Each time, her expression completely changes. Sometimes she looks confused, sometimes frightened, sometimes she smiles strangely. She keeps repeating, no, until she suddenly stands up and begins crying uncontrollably. Watching this terrifies Beer. He somehow calms her down, quickly finishes dinner and brings her home. But even after reaching the house, Nikki's behavior remains disturbing. She refuses to leave Beer's side for even a second. She follows him everywhere, even to the bathroom. At this point, Beer begins feeling genuinely uncomfortable. Eventually, they both go to sleep, but in the middle of the night, Beer suddenly wakes up. As he opens his eyes, he sees Nikki silently standing in the corner of the room. One moment she's laughing, the next moment she's crying. She behaves as though some evil force has taken control of her. Then, without saying a word, Nikki picks up a vase and slowly begins walking toward Beer. Her movements are so unnatural that she no longer looks human. She looks like a terrifying demon slowly approaching its prey. Then, all of a sudden, she lunges sideways with a horrifying expression, deliberately trying to scare Beer. And this time, Beer is genuinely terrified. After trying to scare Beer, Nikki suddenly bursts into laughter and collapses onto the bed. For a moment, Beer wonders if she's simply pulling a prank on him, but deep down, he knows something is terribly wrong. None of this feels normal anymore. As each day passes, Nikki's behavior becomes stranger than before. Her love for Beer slowly transforms into an unhealthy obsession. She can stand there for hours doing nothing except staring at him. Even her smile has completely changed. What was once a sweet smile has now become so unsettling that Beer actually feels afraid whenever she smiles at him. Unable to handle all of this by himself, Beer finally decides to talk to his friend about everything that's been happening. During lunch, while the two are eating together, Beer admits that he truly loved Nikki before, but now she isn't the same girl he fell in love with. He says that she's become completely different. She constantly follows him everywhere, refuses to leave his side, and sometimes her actions are so disturbing that he genuinely feels scared of her. While saying all this, Beer takes a bite of his sandwich. The very first bite tastes incredibly strange. Confused, he opens the sandwich to check what's inside. The moment he sees the filling, his blood runs cold. Inside the sandwich is the meat of his own dead pet cat. The horrifying sight makes Beer completely lose control. He immediately throws up in disgust and shock, even dropping his entire lunch onto the floor. At that moment, all his doubts disappear. He realizes that Nikki is no longer the person he once knew. Beer becomes convinced that some evil supernatural force has possessed her. Otherwise, no normal person could ever think of cooking someone's dead pet and serving it as food. Terrified by everything that's happening, Beer returns home later that day. When he enters the house, he finds Nikki in yet another disturbing condition. There is a strange, dark liquid smeared all over her mouth, making it look as though she has just eaten some kind of animal. Her eyes are glowing with an unsettling excitement, almost like someone who has just accomplished a great victory. The sight terrifies Beer. Trying to stay calm, he tells Nikki to go freshen up while he steps outside for a while. The truth is, he simply can't bear staying alone in the house with her in that condition. Days continue passing like this. Then, a few days later, Beer decides to throw a small party at his house to celebrate Nikki being with him. All of their friends are genuinely happy to see the two together, because everyone knows how deeply Beer has always loved Nikki. However, there's one thing that confuses everyone. They all know that Nikki never loved Beer in the past. She always treated him like nothing more than a close friend. But now, she's expressing an almost insane level of affection toward him. As everyone chats and enjoys themselves, Nikki quietly observes the room. She notices how close all of Beer's friends are to him. The sight instantly makes her furious. She suddenly stands up and calmly announces, "All of you are going to die." Everyone falls silent. Thinking she's joking, they stare at her in confusion. But Nikki continues speaking with a terrifying expression. She says that she hates anyone who gets close to Beer. Her words frighten everyone in the room. Even Beer realizes that Nikki's love has gone far beyond normal affection. It's become something dangerous. But Nikki isn't finished yet. She suddenly grabs a glass bottle from the table, smashes it against the edge, and without any hesitation, slashes her own face with the broken bottle. Everyone is horrified. The entire room erupts into panic. Beer immediately apologizes to all of his friends and asks everyone to leave. Embarrassed, he explains that Nikki hasn't been feeling mentally well lately and that he needs to take her to a doctor. Once everyone is gone, Beer finally loses his patience. He angrily confronts Nikki, demanding to know what has happened to her. He asks why she's behaving like this, and whether she's trying to punish him for something. In a strangely calm voice, Nikki replies that she's not trying to punish him at all. As she speaks, she slowly starts moving closer to him again, but this time, Beer steps backward. He tells her that he's had enough. He can't tolerate this obsessive behavior anymore. Then he makes a firm decision. He tells Nikki that he's going to take her back to her own house and that she can no longer stay with him. After saying that, Beer turns around and starts walking away. The moment Nikki hears those words, her expression changes completely. Her face fills with rage. Without saying anything, she walks straight into the kitchen, grabs a large knife, and slowly begins walking toward Beer. Seeing the knife, Beer completely panics. As he backs away, he stumbles and falls to the floor. In that desperate moment, he realizes exactly what he needs to say if he wants to stay alive. He immediately changes his tone and says, "No, I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. We'll both stay here together. I'll stay with you." The instant Nikki hears those words, her anger disappears. She casually throws the knife away. Within seconds, her terrifying expression transforms back into a loving smile. She gently takes Beer by the hand, leads him into the bedroom, and spends the entire night sleeping while tightly holding onto his arm, refusing to let go even for a moment. In the middle of the night, Beer notices that Nikki has finally fallen into a deep sleep. Taking advantage of the moment, he quietly gets out of bed and sneaks out of the house without making a sound. Outside, he meets Sarah, who has also become deeply worried about everything that's been happening to him. The two of them sit inside a car, and Beer starts telling her everything. He explains how Nikki's behavior has become more and more terrifying with each passing day. Just as he's about to reveal the truth about the magical wooden stick, something unexpected happens. Back at the house, Nikki suddenly wakes up. When she realizes Beer isn't beside her, she immediately panics. She rushes outside, and the moment she sees Beer sitting in the car with Sarah, overwhelming jealousy takes over her. What happens next is something neither Beer nor Sarah could have imagined. She reaches inside, grabs Sarah, and repeatedly slams her face into the steering wheel with horrifying force. Everything happens within seconds. Beer doesn't even get enough time to stop her. Before he can fully process what's happening, Sarah is already dead. The brutal attack leaves Beer completely frozen. His mind simply stops working. After killing Sarah, Nikki calmly walks around to the other side of the car. As if nothing has happened, she gently wraps her arms around Beer and hugs him. At this point, Beer is completely broken. He's mentally exhausted and desperately wants this nightmare to end, but he has no idea how. Finally, he decides to return to the same shop where he bought the mysterious wooden stick. There, he tells the salesgirl everything that has happened. He explains how he made a wish using the magical stick, but instead of giving him happiness, that wish has completely destroyed his life. He begs them to tell him how he can undo it. Unfortunately, the shop owners tell him that reversing a wish is almost impossible. Once a wish has been made, it must be fulfilled. It cannot simply be cancelled. After thinking for a long time, they finally come up with one possible solution. Instead of undoing the original wish, another person could use a magical stick to make a new wish for Beer. Without wasting any time, Beer buys another magical stick and immediately goes to his friend Ian. He tells Ian the entire truth about the stick and explains how its magic works. Then he asks Ian to make one simple wish. He should wish for Beer's life to return to the way it was before. Ian agrees. He even takes the magical stick into his hands, but at the very last moment, greed enters his heart. Instead of wishing for Beer's life to return to normal, Ian secretly wishes for himself to become incredibly wealthy. The moment he snaps the stick in half, money literally begins raining down from above. Seeing this, Beer is completely devastated. Even his closest friend has betrayed him. Now the only chance he had to fix everything is gone forever. Heartbroken, Beer returns home. There, he finds Nikki, once again trapped in that same terrifying, unnatural state. By now, Beer has suffered enough. He's terrified, he's exhausted, and he's completely out of hope. Then, he suddenly remembers one final thing the salesgirl had told him. She had said that if the person who made the wish dies, then the wish itself will also come to an end. Realizing this, Beer makes his final decision. He quietly looks at Nikki one last time with love in his eyes. Then, he slowly picks up a gun. Without any hesitation, he places the barrel inside his mouth and pulls the trigger. Beer dies instantly. The moment he dies, the magical wish is finally broken. At the very same time, Nikki is released from the curse and regains complete control over herself. When she comes back to her senses, her eyes fall on Beer's lifeless body lying on the floor. She immediately breaks down. Unable to understand what has happened, Nikki continues crying over Beer's dead body. And with that heartbreaking scene, the movie comes to an end. Sometimes, taking the wrong path to fulfill your deepest desire can destroy the very thing you wished for in the first place.